Hello everyone and welcome to the Pitskill.io Porsche Cup and TCX Multiclass. It is season 22 and this is our first round of the season here at Suzuka as we get underway with qualifying for the Porsche Cup class. We've got a stacked grid for you tonight, 47 drivers here in pit, well, half on the grid, or half on the track, sorry, Porsche Cups, half in the pit lane, our TCX class, getting themselves prepared for their qualifying 10 minutes, as starting on to his first flying lap of the session is our season 20 Porsche Cup champion, Johan Leff. We do not have the season 21 champion on our track tonight. That is Sergi Sebastian. We'll let Leff take us round a flying lap of this fast and flowing Suzuka circuit into tightest corner on the track. Hairpin, and what is essentially a flat out kink. Through. Can see a little bit of traffic up ahead for Leff, but should be causing him no concern at the distance it is. Into the first left-hander of Spoon Curve, then right out on to the exit curbing of the first part, get the widest possible line into the second part of the corner and get that all-important run down towards 130R. A little bit of a lift through 130 up as we come into the chicane end of the lap. And flat to the line. And it is a 2 minutes 2.9 for Leff, setting the benchmark early on in the session. As we're starting to see those times coming in from numerous drivers. Our season 21 champion in the BMW M2 class, Juhis Latz, has made the transition over to the trickier Porsche Cup cars. He's going to be benefiting from a little bit more power under his right foot, but a Lariat rear end comes with it. You can see Latz stepping out a little bit through the curves in the first sector here and running wide, and somehow keeping it valid still. That did not count as an off track there for Latz. He can continue on this lap, though 1 second down on his previous best. More and more cars setting their lap times. Currently have 16 of the Porsche Cups with a time on the board. Some still remaining to set that initial lap time. As in P4 we have got our series sponsor, Mr. Chris SimQuips Wright. Running that ever so familiar baby blue livery. Come through the kink at the back of the circuit and towards Spoon Curve. Scrub at the brakes, get a little bit of the speed off. And he's currently down on his previous best, 204.1. So I'm 1.2 seconds off of our pace setter's time at the moment. Right. And across the line now is Joe Wilson, who will go fastest with 202.687 as we see Leff passing the line just behind him. That hasn't got a response at this time in the session. Joe Wilson clear by some 2.5 tenths. A solid effort there as John Sawyer improves it on his time, if not by his position. Now just 8.5 tenths off of our provisional pole sitter. As we go through the rest of our order, the rest of the drivers who are joining us for this first round of the season. Matthew Parry, driver who has had some poor luck in previous seasons, always shown decent pace, but has more often than not getting caught up in some sort of incident in the race. Let's hope that Matthew Parry can get a little bit more of the luck on their side this season. Currently sitting down at P5 in this qualifying session. Maya van Dijk in the Porsche Cup this season. I believe she was also driving the Cup last season. Did have a season in the M2s. Now it's in P6 and a solid improvement over the past few seasons. Pace now just 2 seconds off of that of our pace setter at the moment, which is still Joe Wilson. Down in P8, we've got the flaming livery of Slavak Klinger in the number 666 car. Quite appropriate livery. Currently on a decent improvement of a lap here. Could be challenging some of those cars ahead. As we see Johan Leff weaving for a little bit of tyre temperature as they build onto what will be their final flying lap of the session. In P9, we've got Emilia livery of Florent de Moor. Currently on the slipstream there of Nitro. Don't see a time on the board for Nitro up the moment. Oh, no, I don't. So Nitro here, under a lot of pressure, has got just one more lap to set a time and has got Florent de Moor bearing down on them. Let's see, as Nitro crosses the line. Should be a valid lap. Yep, it is. Gives them a 2:05.9, so Nitro, time on the board, can now think about improving that. As Florent de Moor returns to the pit lane. In P10 we have got Jens Nielsen, the Ultimate Nopers car, and a very vibrant and noticeable livery. Though dropping now down to P13 as we've had a few more drivers jump up in the standings. Damien Erskine. In P6 we have got Hayden Fury. In P11 Martin Kuj in P12 running that split SimQuips livery. And in P14, as the camera decides to pan around, we have got Hef Martin, the controller OP, and running the same space-based livery that we saw last season from Martin. P12 now stopping on track, we have got Grzegorz Michalak with Ewan Topley in a very fetching Mr. Blobby livery with slight cameo there from Noel Edmonds on the back. Those of you who know, you know. For those of you who don't, never mind. As Johan Leff crosses the line, take pole position in the dying moments of the session by some 2.5 tenths. Our top three for the Porsche Cups will be Johan Leff, Joe Wilson and John Sawyer, as our BMW M2s take to the track. And leading them around, is that Callum Scotland? Yes it is. Leading the pack away. Running a tartan there, a purple tartan livery. Purple tartan livery, that's hard to say. Oh, as well, the car behind him, not quite sure who that is, but dipping wheels continuously onto the grass. That is not how you find lap time around this or any circuit for that matter. And as we come to 130R, into the final sector of this outlap for Scotland. And jump on board first of our M2 drivers to have a slightly more sedate flying lap of this Suzuka circuit. Past the Ferris wheel, a lovely view of the track. Down the hill towards turn 1. Trading the brakes in, and well, okay, well, we're going to have to abort that watch of Callum Scotland as he returns himself to the pits with what will be some considerably damaged tyres. And we will check in instead with Andre Thierry as they climb their way up through the S's. This section of the track is deceptively steep. The elevation changes here at Suzuka not to be sniffed at as we come up towards the next braking zone for the two Degners. We're in taking a whole heap of apex curb, using all the track on exit. Very pushing hard on this opening lap. As well as pushing hard, we'll be bringing heat into those tyres, all important in these M2 cars. Takes a while for them to get the heat into the tyres, and not using all the track there on exit, so there's going to be time to find that for Thierry. In hearing that a lot of these drivers, especially in the TCX M2 class, finding that running zero traction control is the way to find some pace, but it does require slightly more careful right foot. I wonder how many of the drivers are taking the opportunity for a learning experience. Transition which would be easier for anyone coming from the Porsche Cups to the M2s, as those come with no traction control as standard. As Thierry hops his way over final curbs of the chicane and lap to the line. Long run down to the start finish line here at Suzuka, so potential for some fighting to the line come the end of our 30-minute race later. But at the moment it is Thierry setting the pace, but quickly taken by Roland Schricker, turning driver who's always in contention for the positions at the front of the field, and currently with a 2:17.6, some 15 seconds off of our Porsche Cup pace. Still solid lap time in these less powerful, less aerodynamic machines, as Thierry ahead is pushing hard as well. In E3 we have got Max Davies, driver, I think that's the driver we saw off the circuit, and I'm not sure if he realises he's got his hazards on. Continues on his way as Oscar Yaram has got himself up into P1 in class, P24 overall with a 2:17.4, so just over 2/10 clear now of Roland Schricker. In P28 we've got Gert Andre Hogstad in the Death Trap racing car. I wonder if that livery is a Vedvik special. Don't see Vedvik on the grid tonight, so can't test that theory. But as we have got a car off the circuit in the gravel, and I think perhaps also in the wall, not sure who that is, but we've got Jordi Audit currently running P7 in class. P28 and P6 in class is Charles Poville, and I think Poville and Audit running the same team, matching liveries, as Poville comes into the final chicane, taking a liberal dose of the curbs as he runs down towards the start finish line. I think that might just be enough. Nope, not quite enough to challenge Halstead ahead. As Magnus Mortensen, I'm now convinced that this is a Vedvik special, because we have got two of the Norwegian drivers running this livery. As Atta Kalaskan running a Splatoon livery, very fetching. Definitely not a livery you're going to miss out on circuit. Well done there. I am a fan of that one. Marco Lorenzon, currently P29 overall, P6 in class. And familiar livery we've seen from the past couple of seasons. Good to see Marco Lorenzon back on circuit. In P34 overall, and I'm not going to try and work out where that is in sprint. We've got Jules Flint, and I can't quite see what he's got on the side of that car. No, I wonder if the camera will give us a view. Seems like he's written his dissertation on there, and or possibly some of the diagrams from his dissertation. So yeah, no idea. In P35 we've got Marcus Beckingen. And ahead of him, I think that is the familiar livery of Matthias Peltzer in Sport Cub livery. In P37 is Mikhail Aminsky as we come into the final 20 seconds of this session. So any of those drivers just finishing their lap off now will get one more chance at a fly, but for many of these drivers this is their final lap, so it is got to be all send to the line. As Callum Scotland running in P39, got some pace to try and find on this lap. As first of our drivers to see the checkered flag is Giovanni Michelini, 36 overall. As our provisional pole sitter Oscar Yaram crosses the line. Enough for a 217.182. Is anyone behind able to beat that? Has currently got a half-second march on the rest of the M2 field, so could be a challenge. As T Lightbody in the Hampers livery comes around the hairpin at the back of the circuit. As we turn our attention towards Roland Schricker, who is probably the one driver who's going to have the opportunity to take pole position in class away from Yaram. Going on to the long back straight, just about keeping it within track limits. Not sure if there had to be a little bit of a lift there. And puts a couple of wheels out on the dirt as well for good measure. Needs to find about half a second here, so not going to be the easiest of mountains to climb, but Roland Schricker is going to give it his all as he chucks it through the final chicane. It was fast through, but a bit sloppy on the exit, and not sure there's going to be enough in it for Roland Schricker as he shortens his run to the line. It's a valiant attempt, but in the end misses out by just under 0.2 of a second. Roland Schricker is going to have to make do for P2. on the M2 grid. And he will be joined, or they will be joined in third place by Gert Andre Hogstad, as we wait for our remaining few drivers to finish off their flying laps. As our drivers get themselves prepared, a reminder to you of our top three in both of our classes. In the Porsche Cups, we have got Johan Leff, Joe Wilson and John Sawyer. And in the BMW M2s, we have got Oscar Yarem, Roland Schricker and Gert Andre Hogstad. As our drivers line up on the grid, we've just got a little bit of time to take you through our whole starting order for tonight's race. On pole position is our season 20 Porsche Cup champion, Johan Leff. He will be starting alongside Joe Wilson in the number 64 car. In the second row, in P3, we have got John Sawyer. He'll be starting alongside Matthew Parry. P5 is Nielsen. He's starting alongside our series sponsor, Chris Wright. Damien Rusacom is in P7. They'll be starting alongside BWT liveried Maya Van Dyke. In P9 is Slavek Klinger, starting alongside Laurent Demour. In P11, we've got another battered livery from Juhis Latz. And they'll be starting alongside Hayden Fury in P12. Cyril Michelak starting P13 in this race, running that familiar livery they've been running for quite a few seasons now. They'll be starting alongside Jordi Navarro. This is the third driver of that team we saw earlier. I think they've got some drivers in the Cups and some in the M2, so team to be looking out for up and down the grid. Martin Rouge is in P15. He'll be starting alongside Fernandez Nitro in P16. F. Martin in the Easter livery car is in P17, starting alongside Ewan Topley in that abomination of a Mr. Blobby livery. Jakub Borovic is in P19 alongside Jordi Cano. Jano Brishnik, P21. Also alongside Tom Amella. Chris Casey in P23 will be rounding out the Porsche Cup drivers who managed to set a time, let's say. In P24 is Oscar Yaron, and this is pole position for the BMW TCX class. He's starting ahead of Roland Schricker and Gert Andre Hogstad. In P27 and P4 in class is Andre Thierry alongside Magnus Mortensen. In P29 is Callum Scotland, and they'll be starting alongside the Port Carpet liveried Matthias Peltzer. In P31 is Marcus Beckenen, starting alongside Max Davies. Rodiodet, P33, will be starting alongside Marco Lorenzo with Rodet's teammates. Charles Pavet in P35, and alongside them will be Mikhail Arminsky. G Lightbody in the looks like the new father's livery. He's starting in P37, alongside Atta Kalaskan. Giovanni Michelini will be starting in P39 alongside Jules Flint. And now we see what it says on the side of his car. Alex Perry will be starting in P41 alongside Tim Sharp. And It's either a livery I have forgotten to download or he hasn't uploaded one. Harold Kackemeier turns in the world famous livery, running in P43 tonight's race, qualified ahead of a David Greek. In P45 is another bright and colourful livery, this one owned by Angus Useless. And then we've got a few drivers who did not set a qualifying time. First of those is Regis Ribolt in the Porsche Cup class. And we've got Daniel Wilkins, Devon Fernandez and Anthony Victor Chappelle, who is also running Jules Flint's livery. Interesting choice. So we return our focus to the front of the field. And it will be Johan Leff starting in pole position, who will lead the field away. We come through final chicane, and drivers get themselves lined up 2 by 2, ready to take the green flag. You see the field snake its way through and come down towards the start finish line. Tensions building as our drivers watch and wait for the green flag. The M2 field emerging into view. And green lights are on, green flag race, and we are racing here in Suzuka as we come down towards the first corner. Johan Leff maintaining the lead, has the inside line, as I think that's Chris Wright getting a little bit wide there, potentially losing some positions as we got contact in the background. As we can see dust flying in the background, but our front group of cars at least getting through the first sequence of corners all in one piece, as Johan Leff leads Joe Wilson and Matthew Parry. We climb the hill towards the Degmas for the first time. Joe Wilson looking extraordinarily close here. It looks like our top two close together, close competition here as they wind their way through. Chris Wright dropping one position down into P5, but is very much sticking with this lead pack. As we come through onto a long back straight. Few drivers, I think, yet to cross the first of the timing lines. And there we go. Everyone in the position they should be. And so far, cycling at the front of our field as Felinez Nitro and Borovic go side by side. Borovic well off the circuit there and losing 3 positions because of it. Who joins now back in behind Cano. Down in BMW land though, Oscar Yaram still holding out ahead of Andre Thierry and Hogstad. Roland Stricken down into P4. So, not down into P4. Yes, down into P4. I am very confused by this. I mean, yeah, so Roland Stricker seems to have been the one to lose out there, as Andre Thierry jumping up 5 positions and jumping up, that's 2 positions in class, as Roland Stricker looks to go around the outside of Hogstad. Well in the slipstream here, should get a good bit of overspeed as we come down towards the first corner. Stricker holding the inside line as Hogstad got a little bit out of control, and that's Roland Stricker back up into P3. Now get on the hunt of our 2 class leaders. As up at the front of the field, Johan Leff still leading ahead of Joe Wilson and Matthew Parry. This top 5 beginning to break away a little bit from the cars behind. some small gaps appearing in our field as Florent de Moor dropping back as well as Bruges. Oh, and that is a loose rear end on that Porsche Cup car, and this could compromise them as they run down towards Spoon Curve. In the slipstream, not quite close enough, I think, to take advantage of it, but it's Navarro behind who's having a look on Briznik. Navarro going to be looking get the slipstream on the run down towards 130R. Slipstream not quite as powerful in these Porsche Cup cars. They are quite slippery in a straight line, so it does rely on getting a better exit to get a move made. Lots of power and not much drag. And Navarro skipping first part of the chicane and well out of control, and looking like they've got one hell of a loose rear end on that car. As Fury and Michelak going side by side into turn one. It was Michelak having a look up the inside, but Fury keeping the speed around the outside and maintains P11 for now. As the Porsche Cup of Topley making their way through the front of the BMW field means Yarem and Thierry now separated by just 0.4 seconds as they make their way through the S's. Still close battling at the front of both of our fields, and some quite close battling further back, well, as we see Ribble picking their way through Porsche Cup field. We've got Jules Flint having a look all over the back of T Lightbody. Jules Flint looking to the inside in the S's, hard on the brakes there. Doesn't want to wash wide into the side of the car of Lightbody, but looking like they've got the pace in hand at the moment, as Lorenzon also having a look in this battle, as we've got Matthias Peltzer and I'm not sure who else that is in the gravel. What happened to Matthias Peltzer? Going down into the Degners, and that was contact between Peltzer and that Hoover as well. Yes, it is. All trying to make their way back onto the circuit and very nearly collecting the car of, I think that might have been Chappelle. Doing well to avoid that. We've settled into our race a bit. Our top three, each separated by about half a second. You can see what happened at the start of the race. We saw contact coming down into turn one. Oh, okay, that didn't really explain much to us. Let's have a look and see if we can work out what happened here. Oh, as we saw contact between some of the Porsche Cups. Okay, no, looks like there's not much to... there's small bits of contact, but couldn't quite catch what we saw as absolute motes of dust at the start. So we'll have to see if any of the drivers are able to share what happened there later on. But we've got some Porsche Cups making their way back through the field. This is the one of Casey going to make their way forward as T Lightbody struggling to keep themselves on the island. In P8 we have a battle emerging between Slovak Klinger and Rusicom. Drivers drop somewhat back from our lead battle as the pair of them come down towards 130R. We see behind there's another train of cars being led by Nitro. Nitro with Goros Michelak right on their tail as they come into chicane, ready to start the 5th lap of this race. It's Matthew Parry holding the fastest lap of this race with a 2:02.9. Sorry, a 2:02.5 I should say. With Johan Leff and Joe Wilson just managing to put a little bit of a gap over Parry. You can see Parry now just over a second behind. And we've got also a close battle. Oh, we did have a close battle. I think I may have pre-commentated cursed Roland Schricker. What on earth happened to Roland Schricker? Oh, just washes wide on the exit of the chicane. I was looking at that battle because they were separated by just 0.3 of a second. Now Roland Schricker having a little bit of a mare and returns, dives into the pit lane. Reminder to everyone who is new to this series, we have got a mandatory pit stop, 25 seconds fixed refueling time, optional tyre change. But at some point in this race, every single one of our drivers will have to dive into pit road to service their car. Roland Schricker using their spin as an opportunity to not waste too much time and get themselves into pit road. As Jules Flynn right on the back of T Lightbody as we climb the hill. These three separated by not much at all, as T Lightbody going very wide in the Degners, going back onto the circuit, losing 2 positions, make it 3 for their troubles. Actually holding on for now, but T Lightbody now under pressure from Audette. Holding on to the apex, a little bit of a wiggle on the exit, and there is some close battling in this TCX class. As our lead battle has turned into just a fight between two. Yaram and Thierry separated by just under a second. As we've again got a few of the Porsche Cup cars looking to pick their way through the melee ahead. As Eli Body continues to lead this train of cars into the chicane. See a kick of dust up ahead, and I think that might have been Grant DeMoore perhaps. A little bit too far down the road, but Grant DeMoore picking their way back through the TCXs after a little bit of a mare earlier on in the race. Has made their mandatory pit stop, so it will be interesting to see where they filter back in once everyone else makes their mandatory stop for this race. As Audette and Perry go side by side. These TCX cars really do lend themselves to close, continuous fighting. Not all that much power on them. Really about maintaining that minimum apex speed, and you can go side by side, corner to corner, if you can just work your way alongside the car in front. As Matthew Parry and Joe Wilson peel into the pit lane. The first of the stoppers of our lead group, as Johan Leff stays out, and I think we can see the reason why Parry and Wilson dived into the pit lane. Left with some work to do, picking his way through these back-marking BMW M2s. and he is wasting no time dispatching the first two of the cars. And that is on a charge. Does not want to be held up for anyone. As you can see from the track map though, the BMW M2 field ahead is reasonably spread out, at least the back half of it. So as long as you can pick off the individuals without losing too much time, you get yourself a little bit of clean air before you approach the next one. But I suspect Johan Leff will be wanting to bail out of this somewhat soon before he reaches the bulk of this TCX field, which is just a couple of 100 meters up the road from him. As we'll be waiting to see when he does pit, where do... Actually, that was the car getting very nicely out of the way for Johan Leff. Does he dive into the pit lane on this lap? As we see Kriege with a stop-go 30 penalty. And that would have been picked up for speeding in the pit lane, as Johan Leff comes into the pits with a whole gaggle of TCX cars. And, well, I can imagine he'll be coming out directly behind those and trying to blitz his way through them as soon as humanly possible. As Juhas Lats dives into the pit lane. As My Van Dijk continues into P3 at the moment. John Sawyer, the lead of our cars, still yet to pit and will be soon approaching onto this pack of TCX cars up ahead. Down in the TCX field, still being led by Oscar Yaram, leading ahead of Andre Thierry. We then have got Magnus Mortensen leading Beckenham and Kriege. Kriege in the Porsche Cup, I should say, actually picking his way through this pack. Does have that stop-go 30 penalty to serve, so can't be getting too excited about picking his way through. I mean, you can't be too excited picking your way through TCX cars in the Cup anyway, but an extra bitter point to add to it is he has got to return to the pit lane for an additional 30-second stop. Mortensen backed up behind Hogstad ahead. As we take a look towards the front of the field, and Joe Wilson and Matthew Parry have managed to come out considerably, well, I say considerably, Joe Wilson has managed to come out considerably ahead of Johan Leff, but Leff losing out quite a bit in those pit stops. We take a look at the statistics. Time stopped in the pit lane, 27 seconds for both Wilson and Parry, 30 seconds for Leff. Not quite enough to actually do refueling, as you usually get a little second or two extra as you come to the stop in your pit lane. So either a little bit of a sloppy entry into the pit box or a repair of some minor damage there, costing Leff some time. And now means he's got some work to do as they go side by side, or not quite side by side, down towards 130R. Johan Leff wasn't able to break that much free of Parry and Wilson early on in this race, and now he's got to make moves on track if he wants to take this win here at Suzuka. And through final corner, and Leff drop back somewhat on Matthew Parry. Got just 12.5 minutes remaining in this race. Get something done as they now picking their way through smaller pieces of traffic on the road ahead. More and more of our cars drive into the lane. Starting to see a picture of how this race will unfold. Actually, oh, no. Okay, the timing tower is incorrect. Slavek Klinger is not in E4, having made his pit stop. Slavic Klinger is currently in P9. We'll update again. He's in P9. I did think that there had been a master move from Slavic Klinger, somehow getting himself up into P1 as the net leader of the Porsche Cups, but no. There's Joe Wilson, gets his way past Callum Scotland, our net race leader, once Sawyer, Fury and Borovic make their mandatory pit stops in the not too distant future. As we've got a battle for what will be net P7, I believe, although maybe not quite, because I think Sawyer should come out possibly ahead of this battle. Gregor Michalak fighting ahead of a Nitro and Husikon. It seems like we're getting a few more drivers struggling with the rear end of these cars this season. Not something we saw over the past couple of seasons, such instability on the rear end as there's contact there between Nitro and the 1-2-1 car of Alex Perry. And then there's more contact there between Florent de Moor and someone else. As Gregor Michalak gets himself back on the circuit. It's an unfortunate incident, and now we've got a swarm of cars making their way down towards 130 out. Gregor Michalak has got himself clear of that pack. And he's pushing it behind, also looking to make his way past some of the TCX cars. And poor Alex Perry does not want to get smacked by a cup car again. They are on their way, and see does anyone else dive into the pit lane. Gregor Michalak staying out, as is Florent. Gregor Michalak and Florent de Moor have made their mandatory pit stops. Of course they have. So we'll turn our attention back to the battle over net P2. That is Matthew Parry ahead of Johan Leff. Back down to just 0.3 of a second, as you can see Johan Leff sniffing all over that rear wing. With Parry ahead, but so far not able to find a way through. Really, Leff going to have to wait for a mistake from Parry, and that might have been it, as Matthew Parry washing wide outside of Spoon Curve, and now Johan Leff tucked up right underneath that rear wing. It would be an optimistic dive to the inside if he goes for 130R, but sticking right in the slipstream through the fast left-hander. And will there be a look into the chicane? No, Johan Leff not feeling quite bold enough to send it from that far back, and I can't say I blame him, as we've had one hell of a slide there from Johan Leff. I'm not sure if there's been something done to these cars or some meta setup that I'm not aware of, but these cars are looking awfully twitchy this season in a way that we haven't really seen in previous seasons. Track temperatures are looking fairly standard as well. 17 degrees air temperature, 21 degree track temperature. As we have just under 8 minutes of our race remaining. The battle rages on for P2, as it does. Joe Wilson himself a 5-second lead. And he will be counting down the minutes, I am sure, as he's approaching more back marker traffic. Borovic, a reminder to those of you who may have just tuned in, still has to serve his mandatory pit stop for this race. That will demote him further down our field, somewhat out of the top 10 I believe, looking at the times as they stand at the moment. As we have a battle as well for P10, Nitro, Husikon and Van Dijk, battling their way through the traffic as Nitro picks off TCX car just before he gets his way into the Degners. losing as little time as possible as Demore and Pitskill and Van Dijk making their way through as well. As Magnus Mortensen drives his way into the pit lane. It is, I believe, no, it's not Hef Martin leading the way in the TCX because Hef Martin isn't driving a TCX. It's Thierry leading the way in the TCX with Yarren now down in P30. So something happened to the 156 car that I've not seen. And there was contact, but that was quite early on in the race. I haven't seen anything since, so I don't know what has happened to Oscar Yarem to cause them to be down in P30. Looked like actually a slow stop for Heron. 32 seconds in the box, may have taken new tyres. I suspect that is the case, but now finds themselves down in P27 overall. And in P3 in class with Callum Scotland having what is quite a good recovery drive. Now up in P2 and has got not much of a time gap back to the Aaron behind, but a couple of cars in between. Those cars will work their way through now, and Scotland needs to be careful, does not want to be slowed down too much as Yarem are bearing down on... Oh! And that is contact there between Chris Casey and Callum Scotland. You see that again from the helicam. Door-to-door contact there. Callum Scotland managing to get back on the circuit and stay ahead of Oscar Yarem. That was unfortunate stuff there for Callum Scotland, but has managed to hold on to the position for now. Got lucky there to get nudged off the circuit, but keep it pointing in the right direction. And continues onwards as Oscar Yarem diving out the way. I think there's that of Maya Van Dijk behind. As Matthew Parry and Johan Leff still tied together through this first sector. Johan Leff still unable to find a way through, and looks like Matthew Parry is catching up to Joe Wilson ahead. That gap now at 3.6 seconds. I'm not sure if Parry's being pushed through the circuit by Leff behind, but they are gaining, and it was a difference of only a 3/10 last time around. It's enough to slowly bring down that gap. Still 3.5 minutes remaining. Should be enough time for 2, if not 3 more laps of this race. But it's certainly not over at this point, as again Johan Leff getting the rear of that car all out of sorts. Well, it's not something we've seen so much in previous seasons, but really looking like these drivers struggling with the rear of the cars. As this battle for the next P2 in class continues, so too does the battle for P2 in the TCX class. Callum Scotland will be wary of the Porsche Cup on his inside, letting them through. Does not want to have contact. As Casey's trying to make their way through again. Going to keep an eye on this one, because we did see Casey getting a little bit out of sorts with Scotland before, and Yarem giving them plenty of space. Casey now making their way up the inside of Callum Scotland, and this time no contact between the two. Callum Scotland will no doubt sigh a breath of relief as he can continue on his way, running slightly wide through the second corner of Spoon, but Yaram having to allow up behind through. So those two now separated by just half a second. As Matthew Parry and Johan Leff 3.5 seconds behind Joe Wilson. Don't think Joe Wilson has too much to worry about. We will have, I think, one more lap after the current one. It will be tight, but I think Joe Wilson will just get around in time to start one more flying lap. So this battle between Parry and Leff can continue. And talking of battles, Maya Van Dijk, currently running in P9, has got Borovic, Nitro and Keno behind. It's the battle for P9. They climb the hill through the S's. A brief yellow flag, I'm not sure what that was for, but has very quickly been put away by the marshals. They have down in the tail end of the TCX class. Battle between Pavel and Parry, who had contact with one of the Porsche Cups earlier in the race. Also we've got a light body and Chappelle nose to tail through the first corner. As Joe Wilson has now started the final lap of this race. Final opportunity for Johan Leff to make his way through, as Matthew Parry looking like running slightly wide in some of these corners, not quite hooking up the apexes as he would like, and getting slightly pushed through the course by Johan Leff. Leff backing out of that, does not want to take the position with contact. Just to make his pass fair on track. As they climb up the hill, they are closing down this gap. Joe Wilson ahead, but it does sit at 2.5. 3.2. Whoa, okay, so what is happening to Joe Wilson? Joe Wilson is having to pick his way through the TCX traffic, and this is costing him time. Comes up towards the hairpin. Oh, and this is awful for Joe Wilson. Trying to pick his way through. Matthew Parry and Johan Leff also picking their way through as they're side by side now. And Johan Leff boxing Matthew Parry in behind the TCX. Beautiful racecraft there. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And Matthew Parry having to back out of the throttle. And that was exactly the sort of opportunity that Johan Leff has been looking for these past few laps. And it came in the final lap of the race. Lap markers getting involved at just the wrong point for Matthew Parry, and just the right moment for Johan Leff. The gap has come down to 1.5 seconds at the lead of this race, but it's not going to be enough for Johan Leff to retake the lead of this race that he held on to for so long. And with just one corner left to go, Joe Wilson comes through, flashes the lights, heads towards the checkered flag to take the win here, the first round of season 22 of the Pitskill Porsche Cup and BMW M2 Multiclass here at Suzuka. It was a well fought race, especially by our number 2 driver Johan Leff, who had to be patient for so long. Drifts his way through first corner of the circuit as Matthew Parry returns to the pit lane, having taken P3 in what must have been a disappointing end to his race. As the camera was going a little bit funky there. I thought Scotland has got himself ahead of Thierry, but no. Andre Thierry still leading the way in BMW M2 class. As we make our way through Spoon Curve for the final time. Thierry with a 4.4 second lead over Callum Scotland. And Oscar Yaram well in the slipstream of Scotland is looking for a way through. Could there be a move attempted into the final chicane? Oscar Yaram just a little bit too far back as Scotland rounds chicane, and it will be Andre Thierry to take the win, take the checkered flag in the TCX class. Will be followed by Callum Scotland and Oscar Yaram not far behind to round out our TCX class podium. There's a strong fought race from everyone involved as the rest of our field battle their way through. Magnus Mortensen taking P4 in class and getting a little bit of a rear ending there at the end of that race. We'll ignore that as we have Davies and Schricker. Schricker bringing it home in P6, I believe, in class. Unfortunate end to the race for them. I'm sure they would have been hoping for more with their qualifying position. Aaron Schricker has to take the award for unluckiest driver in this season, and this series I should say, for multiple seasons now, having a bit of a torrid time in the races. Well, thank you very much for watching, everyone. That was a tense race and some good battling throughout. I think there's always something to find on the circuit. And yeah, as I say, thank you very much for watching. And please do stick around. Do check out the pitskill.io Twitch and YouTube channels, as we have got plenty of series being broadcast for your pleasure over the next 10 weeks. And up tomorrow, I believe, should be the BMW Multiclass race with the BMW M6 GT3, the BMW M4 GT4, and the BMW M2 TCX class. So yeah, please do tune in for that. And then, of course, do tune in to the pitskill.io Twitch channel on Wednesday for the flagship GT3 Elite series, where the best of the best will go up to claim the title of being the best of the best in Pitskill. And talking of Pitskill, do check out the link below in description to get yourself signed up, get yourself on the grid for any and all of the races that pitskill.io does have to offer. There's plenty for all tastes of driving, as long as you are driving Assetto Corsa Competizione. And do return next week, when we will be heading over to Misano for round 2 of the season, right here on Lightning Bottle Racing. So do tune in for that. And without further ado, we will take a look at our highlights for tonight's race. And yeah, make sure you tune in, because we'll also be having a look at our standings as well. So until next time, have a very lovely rest of your day. I'll catch you again soon.
Dreams at Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Chicane, precision, rain, slips and bounce, speed and skill. Believe the sun planes, every lap the test of will. Under the lights, the tracks alive, pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive, victories the pure belief. And Roy Weller's voice resounds, SimQuips lead the chasing time. Through the chicane all night, engines hum, racing tails forever strong. Our lover's voice, all heroes come, racing dreams that Suzuka never done. On the screen, the chicane precision lanes, slipstream balance, speed and skill. In the rain, through sunny plains, every lanes, every lap, the test of will. Under the lights, the tracks are alive. Pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive. Victories the pure belief. And Roy Weller's voice resounds. SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth, his passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Check the flag, we make the crowd proud. On the screen, the engine roars, SimQuips in the driver's seat. Porsche Cup, TCX galore. On Pitskill, we meet Suzuka's track, a twisty tail. Corner shoved straightaways wide. In the cockpit, nerves prevail. Feel the rush, embrace the ride. Racing dreams, that's Suzuka. Feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams, that's Suzuka. Chasing glory, chasing time. Through the chicane, precision lanes, slipstream battle, speed and skill. In the rain, through sunny plains, every lap the test of will. Under the lights, the track's alive. Pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive. Victories the pure belief. And Roy Weller's voice resounds. SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth, his passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Racing dreams, that's Suzuka. Feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams, that's Suzuka. Chasing glory, chasing time. Faithful as core, the victory shout. SimQuips lead the roar so loud. Adrenaline the only sound. On this track we make the crowd proud. Check the flag, we see the end. Victors taste the sweetest blend. It's Suzuka, dreams transcend. Racing hearts a message send. Back to shields, that's Suzuka. Feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams, it's Suzuka. Chasing glory, chasing time. Through the chicane all night, engines hum, racing tails forever strong. Our lover's voice, all heroes come, racing dreams that Suzuka never done. On the screen, the chicane precision lanes, slipstream battles, speed and skill. In the rain, through sunny plains, every lanes, every lap, the test of will. Under the lights, the tracks are alive. Pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive. Victories the pure belief. And Roy Weller's voice resounds. SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth, his passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Check the flag, we make the crowd proud. On the screen, the engine roars, SimQuips in the driver's seat. TCX galore, we meet Suzuka's track, a twisty tail. Corner shoved straightaways wide. In the cockpit, nerves prevail. Feel the rush, embrace the ride. Racing dreams, that's Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams at Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Chicane, precision reigns, slips through battle, speed and skill. In the rain through sunny plains, every lap the test of will. Under the lights, the tracks alive, pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive, victories the pure belief. And rolling weather's voice resounds, SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth, this passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Racing dreams as a Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams at Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Playful as corn, a victory shout. SimQuips sweet, the roar so loud. Adrenaline, the only sound. On this track we make the crowd proud. Checkered flag, we see the end. Victors taste the sweetest blend. In Suzuka, dreams transcend. Racing hearts, a message send. Cut to tunes at Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone, in the prime. Racing dreams at Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Through the chicane all night, engines hum. Racing tales forever strong. Forever's voice, all heroes come. Racing dreams at Suzuka, never done. On the screen, the chicane precision reigns. Speed and skill in the rain through sunny plains, every lane, every lap, the test of. Under the lights, the tracks alive. Pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive, and thrive. Victories the pure belief. Roy Weller's voice resounds. SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth, his passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Check the flag, we make the crowd proud. On the screen, the engine roars, SimQuips in the driver's seat. Pushed up TCX below, on Pitskill the only move. Suzuka's track a twisty tail, corner sharp, straight away wide. In the cockpit next to him, feel the rush, embrace the ride. Racing dreams at Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams at Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Chicane, precision reigns, slips through battle, speed and skill. In the rain through sunny plains, every lap the test of will. Under the lights, the tracks alive, pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive, victories that pure belief. And Roy Weller's voice resounds, SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth, his passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Racing dreams at Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams at Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Playful as corn, a victory shout. SimQuips lead the roar so loud. Adrenaline, the only sound. On this track we make the crowd proud. Checkered flag, we see the end. Victors taste the sweetest blend. In Suzuka, dreams transcend. Racing hearts, a message send. Run, run, cut to tunes at Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone and the prime. Racing dreams at Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Through the chicane all night, engines hum. Racing tales forever strong. For lover's voice, all heroes come. Racing dreams at Suzuka, never done. On the screen, the engine roars, SimQuips in the driver's seat. Porsche Cup TCX galore, on Pitskill we meet. Suzuka's track, a twisty tail, corner sharp, straightaways wide. In the cockpit, nerves prevail, feel the rush, embrace the ride. Racing dreams, like Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. Secrets chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone, in the prime. Racing dreams, that's Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Chicane, precision reigns, slips through battle, speed and skill. In the rain through sunny plains, every lap the test of will. Under the lights and tracks alive, pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive, victories the pure belief. And Roy Weller's voice resounds, SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth his passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Racing dreams, on Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone, in the prime. Racing dreams, on Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Playful as call, the victory shout. SimQuips lead the roar so loud. Adrenaline the only sound. On this track we make the crowd proud. Checkered flag, we see the end. Victories taste the sweetest blend. In Suzuka, dreams transcend. Racing hearts, a message send. But the chills, on Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the pits to the finish line, in the zone, in the prime. Racing dreams, on Suzuka, chasing glory, chasing time. Through the chicane all night, engines hum. Racing tales forever strong. Roy Weller's voice, all heroes come. Racing dreams, on Suzuka, never die. Chicane precision reigns, slipstream battle, speed and skill. In the rain through sunny plains, every lanes, every lap, the test of will. Under the lights, the tracks are alive. Pit stops made in seconds brief. Strategies we strive and thrive. Victory's the pure belief. Roy Weller's voice resounds. SimQuips lead the pack today. From the booth his passion sounds, guiding us through every play. Checkered flag, we make the crowd proud. Straightaways wide, in the cockpit nerves prevail. Feel the rush, embrace the ride. Racing dreams, on Suzuka, feel the thrill to turn the bend. SimQuips chasing victory, pushing limits never end. From the